I haven't given myself time to recover or time to heal.
The words echoed through the courtroom, and the entire room froze in utter disbelief. Justin Baldoni's legal team pulled no punches, delivering a devastating claim right to the judge. Blake Lively was secretly dealing with severe emotional and mental instability. The pristine image of Hollywood's golden girl shattered in seconds flat. There was no polite warning or discreet whisper behind closed doors. It was a direct, calculated maneuver that struck right at her foundation. Blake reportedly sat in sheer fury, realizing her carefully curated empire was suddenly on the line, and the fallout was instantaneous.
The ongoing legal battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, an interview recorded prior to the lawsuits, has been released where Baldoni alludes to having a difficult.
For over a decade, Blake had cultivated a flawless persona built on effortless charm, high fashion, and playful banter. But beneath the red carpet smiles and Ed's social media feeds, whispers had long circulated about intense behind-the-scenes control. Insiders claimed that the facade cracked wide open when Baldoni refused to follow the standard Hollywood playbook. Instead of rolling over, he brought her darkest personal struggles directly into open court filings. Her team immediately shifted into full damage control, desperately trying to contain a wildfire that had already escaped.
This text from Blake Lively is insane. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play.
Eyewitnesses close to the production and legal circles say Blake completely lost her composure when the allegations dropped. She viewed the legal filing not just as an aggressive defense, but as a deliberate smear designed to brand her as erratic and unpredictable. Her inner circle scrambled to spin the narrative, claiming she was merely under immense professional stress. Yet critics were quick to ask why an actress who always projected unshakable perfection suddenly looked so vulnerable. The polished surface was crumbling rapidly, leaving observers stunned. The real friction started during the high-stakes production, where creative control quickly turned into open hostility. Baldoni had always projected an aura of deep empathy and collaborative storytelling, but behind the scenes, a fierce power struggle took root. When the dispute escalated beyond private mediation, Baldoni's team unleashed their courtroom strategy. By officially questioning Blake's psychological stability, they successfully altered the public conversation overnight. What was once an ordinary Hollywood disagreement transformed into an explosive personal war. Legal experts watching the chaos noted that painting an opponent as volatile is an old, ruthless tactic. If you convince a judge or public that someone experiences wild mood swings, every single claim they make becomes instantly suspect. Justin's camp seemed ready to push that exact line, implying that her volatile behavior made rational decisions impossible. Blake felt cornered, recognizing that once an allegation of instability gets out, no amount of public relations spin can ever completely erase the doubt. Whispers soon spread that Baldoni's team possessed hard evidence to back up their explosive courtroom assertions. Insiders claimed there were private text messages and unedited voicemails capturing raw, heated exchanges that looked damning out of context. Instead of just relying on courtroom rhetoric, his attorneys implied they had the receipts to prove her meltdown moments were a regular occurrence. The threat of those digital records leaking pushed the tension to an unprecedented breaking point. Among the alleged communications, rumors surfaced about text exchanges where boundaries were aggressively blurred. Phrases describing behind-the-scenes dynamics in provocative, biting terms began circulating through internet gossip hubs. While no reputable outlet has verified every screenshot, the mere existence of these leaked snippets fueled an insatiable fire. Blake found herself in the terrifying position of wondering what other private moments might suddenly be thrown onto the public record to tear her down. The most damaging whisper involved an alleged audio recording captured during a moment of intense creative collapse. Sources claimed the recording documented an explosive outburst that could easily paint her as entirely unhinged. Even if such audio lacked proper context or captured natural exhaustion, dropping it into legal filings would be devastating. Baldoni's team held the leverage, leaving Blake to wonder if her career could survive the weaponization of her most vulnerable behind-the-scenes moments. As the courtroom drama hit the press, the internet instantly fractured into hostile, warring factions. Loyal supporters launched massive campaigns under rallying cries demanding justice for Blake, branding Justin as a manipulative opportunist who crossed every ethical boundary. They accused him of orchestrating a calculated character assassination just to save his own standing. The backlash was fierce, but Baldoni's camp held their ground without retracting a single word of the filing. Yet, for the first time in her career, a vocal portion of the public began to openly question Blake's pristine reputation. Observers pointed out that no one in Hollywood is as impeccably perfect as her public relations apparatus suggested. They started re-examining past interviews, scrutinizing red carpet interactions, and searching for subtle signs of arrogance. The illusion of perfection had been shattered, and once the public looks behind the curtain, they rarely see the star in the same radiant light again. Behind locked doors, sources reported that Blake was so overwhelmed by the courtroom claims that she stormed out of strategy sessions in tears. She was reportedly furious that her most personal vulnerabilities were being dissected by strangers. Tensions reached such an alarming level that security protocols around her private residence were discreetly elevated. The pressure of balancing a high-profile dispute while fighting off claims of personal instability was taking an undeniable toll on her daily life. Meanwhile, commentators began labeling Baldoni's courtroom maneuvering as the ultimate form of psychological chess. By applying intense legal pressure and watching the public react to her emotional distress, his strategy appeared to validate his original claims. When an opponent lashes out against explosive accusations, the public often misinterprets that righteous anger as proof of instability. It was a vicious trap that left Blake with almost no safe moves on the public board. Industry insiders who worked alongside Baldoni offered strikingly conflicting portraits of the director. Some adamantly defended him, insisting he is genuinely thoughtful, grounded, and deeply concerned with maintaining creative integrity. Others painted a darker, far more calculating picture, describing a relentless strategist obsessed with personal branding who would utilize any weapon to gain the upper hand. The contradiction only deepened the mystery of who was genuinely telling the truth. Legal analysts quickly discovered glaring discrepancies between the official legal documentation and what leaked to the media. The courtroom filings were technically precise, focusing heavily on erratic decision-making and operational conflict. However, the media machine transformed those clinical legal terms into sensational headlines about massive breakdowns. Whether Baldoni's team actively fed the press or simply allowed the sensational narrative to run wild, the damage to Blake was catastrophic. Blake made the deliberate choice to maintain a disciplined silence on her personal channels, refusing to validate the accusations directly. Her team focused instead on countering the legal arguments through procedural motions, trying to keep the fight focused on business facts rather than emotional attacks. But in the court of public opinion, silence is frequently misconstrued as guilt. The lack of an aggressive, emotional denial only gave gossip channels more room to speculate wildly. Baldoni's camp also leaned heavily on cryptic responses and strict non-disclosure reminders, letting the media frenzy do the heavy lifting for them. By saying very little directly, they allowed the public imagination to fill in the gaps with the worst possible interpretations. The calculated ambiguity served as an incredibly potent weapon, keeping Blake's team permanently off balance and forced to constantly prepare for the next potential leak. Every subtle online movement from either side became an immediate national talking point. A cryptic social media quote, an uncharacteristic archive of past photos, or a strangely timed like on an industry post sent millions of fans into a frenzy. Armchair detectives analyzed every single digital footprint, desperately searching for confirmation that someone was finally about to capitulate. The drama had evolved into a live-streamed spectator sport where reputations were auctioned off daily. The conflict exposed a deeply uncomfortable reality about the entertainment industry: the massive gulf between an artist's curated persona and their authentic backstage behavior. For decades, stars have successfully hidden extreme interpersonal tension behind glamorous magazine covers and rehearsed television appearances. But when a bitter legal dispute brings those hidden conflicts into a courtroom, the artificial magic dissolves in an instant, leaving only the harsh, unfiltered reality behind. Critics of Baldoni argue that introducing mental health into a professional dispute crosses an unwritten line of human decency. They argue that weaponizing deeply personal struggles sets a dangerous precedent for anyone navigating high-stakes industry negotiations. If any heated argument can be repackaged as evidence of profound psychological instability, every creator becomes vulnerable to similar takedowns. The moral implications of the strategy sparked intense debates across Hollywood. Conversely, Baldoni's staunch defenders maintain that if someone's erratic behavior directly disrupts massive productions and harms professional outcomes, it cannot be ignored. They argue that protecting a powerful star's pristine reputation at the expense of everyone else on set is the true injustice. In their eyes, bringing these alleged issues to light was a necessary measure of truth-telling that finally held an untouchable Hollywood figure accountable. As the bitter legal maneuvering drags forward, both public icons find themselves severely damaged by the relentless fallout. Blake's carefully crafted aura of effortless charm has suffered blows that will take years of careful rehabilitation to recover from. Meanwhile, Baldoni's reputation as a compassionate, gentle ally has been deeply tarnished by the perception that he is willing to engage in cold, scorched earth litigation when pushed. The high-stakes showdown has proven that in modern celebrity warfare, victory is often an illusion. Even if one party secures a complete legal dismissal or a massive settlement behind closed doors, the court of public opinion never truly forgets the ugly accusations. The detailed leaks, shocking claims, and bitter accusations remain permanently etched into the public consciousness, permanently altering how both stars will be perceived for the rest of their careers. When the final legal documents are stamped and the headlines eventually fade, neither side will walk away entirely unscathed. This explosive courtroom revelation stripped away the glittering illusion of Hollywood glamour, exposing the brutal, unforgiving machinery underneath. The real tragedy is not simply a broken partnership, but the harsh reminder of how easily a lifetime of perfection can be shattered by a few calculated words in open court. The golden facade is gone, and nothing will ever be the same.